Hey guys, so I'm sorry about like the noise, the outside noises, but like my husband's home today and my sons are home and I cannot find a decent quiet place to film in my house. So I was like, screw it, I'm going outside. So here I am outside and I'm in my tank top because it is in the 70s here because that's just what we're skipping winter in Texas, I guess. I don't know. So I apologize for background noise, but it's like I couldn't find a good spot. So what I'm here to talk about today, not the weather, not the noise, not how I want to place. What I'm here to talk about today are my bookish resolutions from 2021. Talk about how I did with those, and then also talk about the bookish resolutions that I have for 2022. And I wanted to spend just a second talking about why I make these resolutions. I know some people are like, oh, I never keep my resolutions, so I don't bother to make them. Well, my purpose in making them is to help me be more aware of what I'm doing, and I do revisit them in June or July. And so what's going on with that is, like, for instance, if I want to say that I'm trying to read more books by female authors, or I'm trying to read more diversely in general, if I make that resolution, I make a video, I write it down, and then I sort of can evaluate myself based on these very specific resolutions, then I can be confident whenever I say that I do or I don't do something. And I think that just helps me focus my reading because I'm very much a mood reader. And so if I don't, like, who knows what my moods will have me do throughout the year, right? So let's recap my bookish resolutions for 2021. I had 7 of them because that felt like a good fit for me, a good number. My first goal was to read at least 100 books. Yes. As I sit here, I'm at 116. Hopefully I'll finish at least 2 or 3 more books today. So I surpassed that goal. Cool. Resolution number 2 was to finish my rainbow shelves. I scrapped that before even mid-year. Like, I wasn't happy with, I mean, it looked great, right? But I wasn't happy with how I didn't feel like I could find my books. Like, it wasn't organizationally a good idea for me. So I've changed them already. I've already started changing them, and I'm feeling better about the change already. And I'm not even done yet. Resolution number 3 was to read all the Book Bitch Literary Society books. The only book that I haven't read from that set is The Midnight Library by Matt Haig, because that particular month, I think it was August, we picked 2 books. I read the other book, but I didn't get to that book, and it really wasn't like a book I felt like I really wanted to read. So I haven't read that one, but I've read a book for every month. The current book that we have is a cozy mystery, but I don't have to have that read until January the 8th. So I'm not even, I worry about when they're due, right? Like, worry about procrastination. I worry about when they're due, not when I get the assignments. So I feel like I've accomplished that because I read one of the 2 books. We don't normally pick 2. The 4th resolution was to read Jane Eyre. I did not read Jane Eyre. So that one was probably going to roll over, right? Because I still want to read it. Like, I feel like it's important that I read it. Resolution number 5 was to read 25 like nonfiction or memoirs, like nonfiction memoir, that kind of book. And yes, I did achieve that. I read 26. I'm not very happy with that though, because yes, while I achieved the goal, I only achieved it like with 26. So, I don't know. The next resolution number 6, was to read 3 Brandon Sanderson books. That's also a no. I only read 1. Like, I read the first of the Mistborn trilogy, the Mistborn books. I need to get to more of that. Like, I'm not like dropping it, but yeah, like that didn't happen. And I don't think a resolution that is specific like that is necessarily a good idea for me. Just saying. And then number 7, it was to read 30 books by non-white authors. So authors that are not white. And so I would say, and I did meet that. Yes, I read 30. And I was disappointed because I thought, haven't I read more diversely than that? And what I realized was that I was counting it by authors and not books. So technically, I've read more than 30 books by non-white authors. It was just the same author. Like, for example, I read most of... Like, I read the first 4 of Cells at Work. Well, that's 4, but I only counted it once because it was the same author, right? So, yeah, like that, I was feeling kind of down about it, and I had to, like, rethink it and say, okay, what's really going on in my life with this? Okay, so let's jump. That was 2021. I feel pretty good about that. So let's jump to 2022. So for 2022, again, I made 7 resolutions. Let me go through and tell you what these 7 are, okay? First resolution, to read at least 100 books. Some of you might be saying, like, hey, you've been reading more than 100 books for a couple of years now. Yes, but hear me out. As I go through the resolutions, you'll see why I only set it at 100 and didn't set it for like 120 or something. Resolution number 2, read at least 20 Book of the Month books. I'm a member of Book of the Month. No, I'm not sponsored or this is an ad or anything like that. But I need to prioritize some of those books because they're stacking up. Resolution number 3, read 35 books by non-white authors. So I took what I did with the 30 and I added to it, because if I only read 100 books and I read 35 of those books from non-white authors, that's 35% of my reading, which I still don't think is great, but it's about progress. Okay, so I'm trying to make progress with that. I put for number 4 to read Jane Eyre. I'm not going to give up on that one. I'm not. Number 5 was to read all the Book Bitch Literary Society book picks. Again, that's an important goal to me, so I just sort of recycled that one too. Resolution number 6, I want to try to finish 4 series or trilogies. Okay, so that's where Brandon Sanderson can fit in, because I can spend time reading the trilogies, reading the series, right? And that will also encompass other series that I'm trying to continue, because I think I've heard a lot of people, especially on BookTube, talking about how they're really bad about starting a series and getting maybe 1 or 2 books in and then kind of puttering out, not finishing them. So yeah, that's on my radar too. And then number 7, finally, is to read 10 books of poetry. I read poetry every year, but I wanted to sort of focus some of my attention on making sure I'm reading poetry, and so 10% sounded like a good amount to my reading, and so I'm going to try to read 10 books of poetry. And so what I've done is I have a little journal that I use. I could show you my journal. So I have a little journal with my resolutions, and on the bottom half of the page I have like an update section. So for each month I can kind of make some notes and update myself as far as like how I'm doing with my goals, and I think that'll help me accomplish my bookish resolutions for 2022. So that's it, guys. Let me know in the comments what some of your bookish resolutions are. Do you have some similar ones? Or really, if you even think it's a worthwhile, like, it's been working out for me. I would go back to 2020, but the problem that I saw with like 2020 and 2019 is that my resolutions were really vague. It was like, read more books. Okay, well, what do you mean by more? Like, how do you gauge whether you're successful with that? Like, what is more? 1, 2, 3, 4, right? So I don't even bother to look at some of those resolutions and goals because I just don't feel like they no, it's just, they're not helpful. So anyway, yeah, thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.